The estate tax exemption is set to dramatically drop at the end of 2025, and depending on your situation, this could mean losing millions to estate taxes, or possibly nothing at all. So, how panicked should you be? Well, we're going to go through a 5 level panic scale to help you figure it out. If you're at level 5, obviously, you need to be calling your estate planner yesterday. Hi, I'm John Strohmeyer with Strohmeyer Law, where we help our clients leave no unfinished business. While I am a lawyer, I'm not your lawyer, so don't take the advice of some talking head on the internet. Remember to talk to your own advisor about your specific circumstances. Also, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Now, today we're going to be talking about the estate tax cliff and which level of panic you should be feeling right now. This is going to fall under our potential avoidable costs, horsemen of the estate planning apocalypse, because failing to plan could mean a much bigger tax bill than really would be necessary. So, as background, what's happening? Right now, the federal estate tax exemption is $13.99 million per person, or just under $28 million for a married couple. But on January 1st, 2026, it's going to drop by about half, back to about $6 to $7 million per person. Now, if you're way over the limit, that means, roughly speaking, 40% of that overage is going to go in estate taxes to the IRS. Now, those of you who know more about estate tax know there's a lot more to it than that. This is just quick for right now. Now, this isn't some distant hypothetical. This is happening unless Congress acts this year to avoid this for you. Here we are in the middle of March 2025, and it's probably going to happen. It's probably going to get extended, but right now I haven't seen a real bill that's come out, and the Republicans have said that tax policy isn't on their first 100 days priority. Putting the politics aside, there's going to have to be a bill before something happens. So as the year progresses, everybody's estate tax panic is probably going to be creeping up until we hit either a bill or January 1st. So if you want, you can wait and see, but this isn't necessarily something to bet your estate plan on. So let's get to those levels. Level 1, keep calm and carry on. Well, if your assets are going to be below that $6 or $7 million as either a single person or a married couple, good news and bad news. You're fine. No matter what happens within most likely scenarios, you don't have an estate tax bill to worry about. Just keep your estate plan updated to make sure things are going to the right people according to your plan. Now, how do we get to level 2? A little storm on the horizon. This means you're getting close either as a married person or a couple with about $6 million. You're close to the exemption and future growth could push you over. Now, if you're closer to retirement, maybe you're spending down more, and so you're not really worried about this. Or if you're young and you're growing your assets, maybe this is something you need to keep an eye out. Either way, you need to be thinking ahead, but really no need to rush because you're not really in the target zone. Now, if we start thinking level 3, this is where we want to start being a little more worried about actually having an effect from this drop. We're going to have to think a little bit harder about this now because we're talking about the difference between a single person who's only going to have one exemption versus a married couple where they've got 2 exemptions to play with. So when we start thinking about level 3, where we're tightening up our seatbelts, we're looking at a potential tax bill if we do nothing. For a single person, this means if their assets are over that $6 million line and expected to stay that way. Right now, as a single person, if your assets are over 6, I'd be a little nervous and stay right here for right now. Why? Well, it's possible you could just spend things down or maybe make some gifts that make sense to lower your assets. This is the time for you to be exploring options like gifting strategies, trusts, charitable giving. Similarly, think about the same thing if you're a married couple and just over the $15 million line. Again, with some testamentary planning now, you don't really need to change anything for the foreseeable future. I'd have you stay right here at this level if you're just over the line, right at level 3, through at least June or July if we don't have any update to the tax bills. Why? Well, we don't know, and there's no reason to panic just yet. Give them a few more months, and if we get to June, July, maybe even August, and nothing's happened, that's when you really want to start thinking about, do we need to make some phone calls? At level 4, you're expecting your estate will be over the exemption, and without any action, you're going to be facing a big tax hit. This is also where we're thinking about things that once the estate exemption comes down, you should be panicked about that coming down. Maybe not panicked if you've got enough, but this is not something you want to leave to chance. So if your assets are significantly beyond the limits and you're not happy with the amount of tax you're going to be paying after the drop in 2025, well, this is where you need to be calling your planner now. Getting ahead of it, knowing that you don't want to pay that tax, this is where we're thinking about things. As we get closer to the end of the year, you may find yourself here at level 4. Finally, my top level, level 5, all the sirens, smashing the glass, pulling everything we can. You're well over the exemption, and every month that passes is a risk for you of paying higher estate tax. Now, we've talked about how the exemption is going to drop. When we're here at level 5, what we're thinking about is you're going to lose that exemption, and not only are you going to be exposed to higher estate tax, well, you probably have enough to where you could have done something with that lost exemption. The thing to think about with the drop in the exemption is that when it's gone, it's gone. But you do have the chance to use it now. The key, though, is your exemption is burned from the bottom up, meaning that bonus exemption of 7 or 8 million has to be used after you've used all the exemption that will be left after it's used. So of the 14 million, you've got to go through $7 million that will be left in 2026 first before you start getting to that bonus exemption. You don't get to use the bonus first. As an example, if you were to make $1 million gift and haven't had any prior taxable gifts, well, you'd go from 13.99 million exemption down to 12.99 million. If the cliff happens, then next year, instead of having 7 or so million, you'll have 7 or so million less that $1 million left. So again, you're going to have to burn through all of your exemption that'll be left after the cliff before you start getting into the bonus exemption that's going to go away. So $8 million is the starting point really for making gifts that will use up that exemption. That really does give you till the end of the year to use that exemption if it goes away. Of course, we could be in a situation like at the end of 2012 and 2010 where Congress kicked things out for a little while before making it permanent in 2012. Okay. One of the things I like to think about is that, well, they didn't pass it until actually December 33rd, meaning January 2nd or so, 2013. So it's possible Congress will make something retroactive to increase exemptions, and it won't happen until after the cliff has already happened. We had a lot of panicked people back in 2012. Do you want to be one of those? Not really. But if you don't plan, it's possible you could get hit with the cliff and pay a much higher tax bill. This would result in your beneficiaries receiving less and more of your money heading off to the IRS instead of your family. So, where's your panic level? If you're at level 3 or higher now, it's time to start talking to your advisor to keep your options open. You may not want to do anything until later in the year. Heck, I'm still telling my clients right now that we can wait for a lot of them because it may still happen. We may not need to pull the trigger on any planning just yet. But the thing to keep in mind is if we get into 2026 without a new bill, that bonus exemption would have been gone. And you'd want to know what you were doing before it happens. So thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time. If you've got questions or comments about this, we're happy to give you general advice. Leave a comment below.